So this is pretty rich. American Jews who shill for Israel are calling for the deportation of American immigrants who don't shill for Israel. This is Stephen Miller's wife, Katie Miller, calling out Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks. He's born in Turkey, American immigrant. And she's calling, well, first, I'm going to play this first clip before she starts calling for his deportation. She first gets really upset with him and basically tries to say that, she conflates Israel with all Jews. Just, watch this.
Why is it that every time someone wants to criticize Mamdani, it immediately comes back to the Jews and the anti-Israel movement instead of actually talking about his viewpoints, which is that he wants to make
Jews. You just said it. You always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back, and you have to make it about Jewish Americans. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Is Israel a Jewish state? Yes or no?
Yeah. First of all, okay, so Saudi Arabia is a Muslim state, and you can criticize it all day long, all day long. There's no special protection
because
for
what you're doing is you're decoding language
that
to
calls
mock
themselves
American
a Jewish state or a Muslim
state. And to say that we should not be here and we should not be in existence and that you would be happy for other people like Mamdani.
I want Israel to be safe.
Nothing of the sort.
Nonsense. You're totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying.
Quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your children into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done with this if you're going to allow racist and bigoted attacks against one of your commentators just for the sake that he will not.
No, hang on. Casey, to be clear. Casey, to be clear.
He inserted a line that says the Miller's lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Piers. Where are you?
What?
Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Casey,
pathetic.
if I can speak.
Everything's your shield.
If I can speak, listen.
Fire him, cancel him, America.
Cenk,
oh my God, Israel's feelings have been hurt. Why don't you work for this country?
Right, can we try and get
this country?
Yeah, you are a guest on my show, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and I like you coming on the show.
And I'm saying the two other guests on your show are welcome to participate in these anti-Semitic attacks that is so permeating on CNN and MSNBC.
This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. I have to jump in here. Somebody criticizing you personally is not an anti-Semitic attack. If somebody says that you are lying, that is not an attack on Jews. That is an attack on you. And just stop hiding behind identity. This is all the snowflake behavior that the right is supposedly criticizing the left for, that you're simply repeating here. Yes, Stephen Miller is a destructive force in American society. That is not an attack on Jews. That is no reference to his identity. This is an attack on him individually, and just deal with the merits of this case.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all pretty sick of any sort of bad thing that happens to Jews or any sort of criticism that happens to Jews. Just because they're Jews, it's now anti-Semitic. So rather than it just being, no, we just don't like you and your viewpoints. Oh, well, I'm Jewish. Well, then you must be an anti-Semite. You must be attacking all Jews. No, attacking you personally. Nothing to do with your religion or your belief or your culture or anything like that. It's just you. You're the problem. What's interesting about this is she first starts off by saying, Israel is the only state for Jews, the only nation for Jews. And then she transitions into, so, you don't think we Jews belong here in America. I mean, this is where she's going with this logic. And I mean, this is pretty typical because there's actually no logic behind this. So somebody says, we have to defend a foreign nation because that foreign nation is Jewish. And therefore, any attack on that foreign nation is an attack on all Jews. And for some reason, I'm not really quite sure if I understand. I mean, there's, like I said, no logic behind this. But for some reason, attacking a foreign country that happens to be a country predominantly made up of Jews, or, it declares itself a Jewish nation, sure. That means you don't think people should be here in America? Am I getting that right? I feel like if you're arguing for a Jewish state, a Jewish foreign country, and you're claiming that is your real country and your homeland, that is the country for you because you're Jewish, then I feel like you yourself, I mean, you're saying you don't belong here. You're saying you belong in this other country. You're saying that's your real homeland and that's where you belong and it's the country just for Jews, so that's your country. So No one is telling you you don't belong here. You're telling you don't belong here. And you're telling your fellow Jews you don't belong here. But it gets worse. She actually threatens she's threatening Cenk, who's born in a different country, he's an American immigrant, and she's threatening him with deportation. Again, make that make sense.
Oh, hold on. So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms were disgusting.
Just like
that doesn't mean that Israel.
Well, here's a reason to not buy beef from big box stores or grocery chains anymore. Think about it. If there was a plan to inject everyone 4 to 6 times in a year and it didn't work because people started waking up and saying no, what is the next best option? Oh, slip it into something we eat every single day, of course. Our beef source. And where do most people buy their food? Grocery stores. Right now, major chains like Costco and Walmart are selling beef injected with mRNA shots. And you won't hear this on the news, and no one's going to warn you. In fact, they don't have to even put it on the label. This is why the wellness company started Wellness Farms, 100% grass-fed and finished, mRNA-free, no vaccines and hormones, beef raised on hand-selected regenerative American family farms. Farm to table, literally, no middlemen except the butcher and UPS truck. We've all seen mystery meat videos on social media. Save your precious time. And don't risk Big Ag's meat manipulation. Own your health, especially when your DNA is at risk of being modified. Go to twc.health/KimFarms and use code KimFarms to save up to $85 plus free shipping on your Wellness Farms order. So check your citizenship. So that's what she's saying to him. So she's an American Jew. I believe she was born here, I would assume. But she shills for Israel. And she's saying because Cenk Uygur was born somewhere else, but he's an American, and he's not shilling for Israel, a foreign country, that he should be deported. So are we only going to have American citizens here who are for Israel, a foreign country? That's the country she wants to build. She's not America first. She's saying, I want a country filled with people who are focused on another foreign country. That is the furthest thing. That is the opposite of America first, very literally. And she's calling for the deportation of fellow Americans who will not shill for a foreign country. How did we get to this point? How did we get here? I mean, it is just mind-boggling to me that we're at this point. The logic behind this, if you don't shill for another country, you're not American enough? Make that make sense. I am just so fed up. Okay, she's not the only one. He was also confronted by Randy Fine, Congressman Randy Fine. This is somebody serving in the U.S. Congress. I mean, look, Katie Miller's just the wife of Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller definitely is part of the administration in some capacity. I'm not really sure. Is he a special advisor or something like that? I'm not really sure. But he has definitely Trump's ear, and he's in a position of power. But she's his wife. Okay, but this is now a sitting congressman who is now going to be calling for the deportation of Cenk for not being pro-Israel enough.
You said yesterday that Cenk Uygur, one of our panelists today, is an invader. What did you mean by that?
I think it's a great example. I actually talked in that post about Mamdani. I talked about Ilhan Omar. I talked about the gentleman you recognize. These are
Mamdani, who stood on the debate stage, and when all of the other mayoral candidates were asked, where will you take your first foreign trip? And they all said, Israel, 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 Israel. And Mamdani said, why would I go anywhere? I'm here for New York. I'm going to stay in New York. A pro-American, you might not like his policies. You might not like what he wants to do as far as, government-run grocery stores or something. But nonetheless, he's still America first, and he has never once shilled for a foreign country. And Randy Fine is saying, we got to get rid of him.
All wealthy foreigners who move to the United States and then constantly talk about how bad it is. He made a post saying, I should be deported to Israel, that I have dual loyalty.
Well, that would make more sense, actually. For him and Katie Miller to be deported to Israel makes more sense because they are actually calling for policies that benefit Israel. And they're actually very clearly Israel first. And so if you're going to shill for a foreign country, and if you're going to wave the flag and keep it in your office, and if you're going to be constantly proposing policies on behalf of that foreign country, I think that's actually grounds for more grounds for deportation than somebody who refuses to shill for a foreign country. I mean, it seems like if Cenk was shilling for China or Qatar or any other nation, you'd all be calling for his deportation. And maybe that would be fair enough if they were genuinely like, we want to be a China first nation. We want China first policies. I want to do what's best for China, anything for China. And the rest of you who refuse to do what's best for China, well, you should all be deported because this is America. And so we need to do what's best for China.
My family's from America. I was born here. My parents were born here. Most of my grandparents were born here.
I don't really give a shit where you were born. Sorry, excuse my language. I am so sorry. Not very becoming of me, not very ladylike, is it? But I really don't care where you were born. If you are now a traitor to this country, I don't care why you're a traitor to this country, how you became a traitor to this country. All I know is you are one. So if you are shilling for a foreign country over the benefit and the well-being of Americans, you're a traitor. And I don't care if you're born here. I don't care if your parents were born here. I don't care if your great-grandparents were born here or your great-great-great. I don't care if you came over on the Mayflower. What I know is you have now somehow, some way, for some motivation, become a traitor to the country. And that happens all the time. I mean, not all the time. It's not super common, but we've had traitors amongst us in the past. They've been tried for treason or other things, spies that have been they turn and they act as double agents for foreign countries. That happens. And now they're just, more blatant about it and telling us we're the traitors for not.
My relatives that came here over 100 years ago came because they were desperate to be part of the greatest country in the history of the world. They did not come and then go on constantly about how bad it is and about how terrible it is and about how things need to change.
And yet you call for the building of a foreign country constantly. Why do you want that foreign country? What do they all say? The same thing. It's the only safe place for Jews. It's the only safe place for Jews. It's like, wait a minute. So then why? So your family came here. They wanted to build this country, but ultimately it's not safe. They got to go back somewhere else.
If folks want to come to America, they should love it. They should share its values, and they should want to add value immediately. And
to America, about America. Yes, I agree, Randy Fine. So that puts you in the crosshairs of, the decision-making of who should be deported.
Many people who are coming do not share those values, and I believe it is a threat. The barbarians are no longer at the gate. They are now inside.
Wow. So you're calling Cenk Uygur a barbarian. Well, given he's here, let me bring him into this. Cenk, what is your response to that?
Yeah, no, I don't mind because I agree that there are barbarians inside the gate, and that's Randy Fine. Randy Fine is a sick terrorist sympathizer. In fact, if he wants America to do terrorism on Israel's behalf, he has said we should nuke Gaza. That's killing millions of innocent children and human beings and civilians. But he doesn't care. He only cares about Israeli lives. By the way, the Israelis have murdered now nearly a dozen Americans in the West Bank. No accountability from our government. And people like Randy Fine say we owe Israel. We owe Israel a genocide. We owe Israel $300 billion. We owe them no accountability at all when they kill American citizens. They had a pervert Israeli government official that came here in Vegas and tried to rape our children, and we let him go? That's insane. Randy Fine, are you asking for the sick Israeli government to return the pedophile so he could face justice here? No, Randy Fine represents Israel, not America. Everybody knows that. He also said we should starve all the Gazans. So he's right. There's a sickness inside our government. AIPAC and the Israeli lobby have given to 90% of Congress. They've given him $500,000, and that was a giant waste because he works for Israel already. So, Randy, we're all sick of your terrorist sympathies towards Israel. They have committed 75 October 7th. Their civilian kill ratio is 83%, worse than Hamas, worse than any terrorist organization. They have murdered 256 journalists, more than all other conflicts combined. They murdered 104 people today, including 46 children. They burned them alive. And we're sick of Israeli terrorism, and we're sick of people like you forcing good Americans. I love this country. I didn't come here to be an occupied territory of Israel. I came here because I love America and the freedom and the equality and the justice that comes with it. If you think your grandparents who came here were not loyal to America, that's your business. But no, most of the people that come here come because we absolutely love this country, and not Israel. Go serve. Why don't you go to the Knesset, brother? Everybody knows you love Israel and you despise Palestinians and you love Israeli terrorism. So why don't you move to Tel Aviv already?
Yeah, why don't you? Why don't you? And, I've never once heard Cenk shill for Turkey, for example. I've never once heard him say, we got to do what's in Turkey's best interest. We got to do what's right for Turkey because Turkey is the only safe place for Turks. And I hate that when these shills say, Israel's the only safe place. It's the only Jewish nation in the world. Well, Turkey's the only Turkish nation in the world. Vietnam is the only Vietnamese nation in the world. Japan is the only Japanese nation in the world. I mean, there's all of these only nations in the world. It doesn't give them the right to commit genocide. Germany was the only German country in the world. I mean, if we're going to use this logic, they bank on people being stupid. They bank on people not getting it. They bank on people not thinking it through. They bank on that when they say, we should deport all of these American immigrants who don't support a foreign country. If they're not willing to support a foreign country, they're not American enough for us. They're supporting America and only America? What? Are you kidding me? Well, that's not acceptable in America. Well, apparently not anymore. What's acceptable in America is you have to shill for a foreign country, even if that means sending off your own Americans to slaughter or leaving American taxpayers high and dry as Israeli soldiers, their reservists get $8,000 a month equivalently that we're basically subsidizing while U.S. reservists get $2,000 or something small, peanuts. Israelis enjoy health care, universal health care. They enjoy all kinds of benefits, and the American tax dollars subsidize that. Their excuse is, it doesn't matter. The money that America gives to Israel has to be spent on weapons. It has to be spent on U.S. weapons. So we give them money to buy our own weapons. So we basically give them the weapons. And that frees up their money to do things like give their soldiers higher salaries, pay for universal health care for their population. I mean, that's what it frees up their money to do. Wouldn't we love it here in America if a foreign country would subsidize all of our war? If a foreign country actually gave us all the money for our war, what could we Americans do with the money that we would free up in that moment? A lot of great stuff, I would imagine. So that's where they've got us. They've got us in this, well, you're paying for our wars and providing us with the weapons and supporting us endlessly. And we got all these Congress people in there that are supporting us and people in the administration supporting us. And I mean, this is all, and all for what? Then they say, we're the most moral people, the most moral military. We're we're doing what's right. We're protecting all of you. We're protecting all of you. Meanwhile, what do they do during their supposed ceasefire? They go and they kill. I mean, they're supposed to be in a ceasefire. And they kill 100 people, over 100 people, over 40 of which were women and children during a ceasefire. So who is in violation of the ceasefire? They say, well, Hamas is in violation of the ceasefire. Really? Are they killing hundreds of Israelis? Are they killing children? And Israel says, well, they're not giving us our dead bodies back. Oh, so they didn't give you already dead people. And so you decided to make over 100 more in retaliation. That is not valuing life. They accuse the Palestinians of not valuing life. And yet, in exchange for dead bodies that they cannot find, that are probably buried on their side of the line, their side of the yellow line, the Israelis still occupy 55% of Gaza. I guarantee you they know that those 13 remaining bodies are on their side of the line. But what are they doing? Accusing Hamas of not giving them their bodies back and using it as an excuse to kill women and children. That's what they're doing. Absolutely. The world is against Israel at this point, and what we're seeing on social media, this is the most despicable thing, is logging onto social media, and it's just a barrage of, look, Hamas did all these violations, or a barrage of anti-Israel Americans are anti-American Americans somehow. Also, I see a lot of hate toward Tucker Carlson for putting Nick Fuentes on, who's been a big critic of Israel, for Tucker Carlson being anti-Israel, and all of these clearly being propped up accounts saying, oh, the right is sick of Tucker and he's fringe now and nobody agrees with him and we got to kick him out of the party. But we're seeing this amplification of this narrative online, this amplification of this narrative in the mainstream media. But that's just an amplification of what they want us to think. But the reality is every single person I know, whether they be on the right or the left, are totally and completely against Israel at this point. And Tucker is mainstream. His viewpoint is mainstream. And Nick Fuentes' viewpoint on Israel is mainstream. That is the norm. That is not, these are the fringe actors we got to kick out of the party. No. They're actually the norm. But what we're seeing amplified, and why are we seeing this amplified? Well, because there's a lot of money. You got the Ellisons purchasing TikTok. You've got Elon Musk worried about him losing his investments or his advertisers or whatever it is. So he's got a shill for Israel. As Netanyahu said, we got to talk to Elon. He's a friend. And then suddenly the algorithm changes and we're seeing all of these pro-Israel shills flooding our social media, trying to gaslight us into believing Tucker Carlson has a fringe worldview. Not everybody is buying it. In fact, most people are not. Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the most principled members of Congress, says Israel's military said Wednesday that the ceasefire was back on in Gaza after it killed 104 people, including 46 children, according to local health officials. 46 children. Are these not war crimes? Yes, they are war crimes. And we are complicit. The United States is complicit. Of course, Donald Trump is saying, no, the ceasefire is fine. He doesn't want to be made a fool because the Israelis are totally and completely making him into an idiot. I mean, they have said, oh, yeah, Trump, we're going along with your ceasefire agreement. And then every day they've killed people. Every day. Yesterday being the worst. 100 people dead. Over 100 people dead. 46 women and children during a ceasefire. And then they say this. They have the gall to say this. In accordance with the directive of the political echelon and following a series of strikes in which dozens of terror targets and terrorists were struck, the IDF has begun the renewed enforcement of the ceasefire in response to Hamas's violations. Oh, so it's an on-again, off-again ceasefire. I see. As part of the strikes, the IDF and ISA struck 30 terrorists holding command positions within the terrorist organizations operating in Gaza. The IDF will continue to uphold the ceasefire agreement and will respond firmly to any violation of it. So they say, look, we killed all these Hamas members. What is the point of a ceasefire? You're not supposed to kill the Hamas members. Yeah, it's a ceasefire. You've agreed to not kill them anymore. You've agreed to end the war. And yet you've continued the war and said, see, we're justified because we're killing the terrorists. Well, then it's not a ceasefire. And then they say this. Palestinian Hamas ceasefire violations have killed 3 Israelis, which no evidence of this at all, by the way. No evidence. In fact, 2 of the Israelis that were killed, there's reports that they ran over their own bomb, basically. That they ran over a bomb that didn't go off and it blew up on them when they ran it over. And then the last one, they're claiming that Hamas killed an IDF soldier the other day, and that is heavily disputed. There's no evidence of that. They're just claiming it. Again, could have probably stepped on a freaking trap and ended up killed. And then they say, well, Hamas did it. So they say, well, you killed 3 Israelis. You killed 3 Israeli soldiers who are there fighting, who have killed numerous women and children probably already. And in response, you kill 46 women and children. This is why everybody hates you. Everybody hates you. And this is why. And then they say here, the Israel Foreign Ministry says, failure to return 13 remaining hostages is also a serious violation. So they're saying Hamas killed 3 Israelis and failure to return 13 remaining hostages is also a serious violation. Dead hostages, buried under the rubble. Nobody knows where their bodies are. They're probably on Israel's side of the line. And yet they're using 13 already dead people. This is how they view life. They view a dead Jewish person to be more valuable than 46 living children. This is why everybody hates Israel. To value the life of a dead Jew over 46 living non-Jews. That is how they're viewing it. That's how they view it. 46 young non-Jews. This can't go on. This can't go on. says, remember how this started. And then they, of course, go back to October 7th, always. Remember how this started. I'm surprised they didn't say the Holocaust. On October 6, 2023, Israel was abiding by the ceasefire. On October 7th, Hamas violated the ceasefire. No, that is not. What ceasefire? You've never had a ceasefire. Now we all see this with our own eyes. Just like we all see how genocidal you are with our own eyes, we now see your supposed ceasefires with our own eyes. And we all hate you. Hamas's behavior is dangerous, threatening the ceasefire and the hope for a better future. What hope for a better future? You just killed 46 children. There's no hope for a better future. Not until Zionism is eradicated. We cannot continue on with this ethno-nationalist ideology that is just fine killing kids. That is not okay. It's not acceptable. Not even a little bit. And anybody who supports it, those people that are religious, I believe they're going to hell. I mean, I don't know how they could not. I don't know how they could think they're going anywhere other than hell, but they think they're going to heaven because they support a genocide. And they think, well, but I'm supporting Jews and the Bible says to support Jews. And so therefore, which, it doesn't say that, but okay. Video footage of staged burial and discovery of body illustrates the level of malice behind the violations. So the Israelis are claiming that Hamas keeps staging bodies and then discovering them and saying, here's your body back. And then it's not the right person. Well, what do you expect them to do? You have the bodies on your side of the line, most likely. You've buried them under rubble and they're on your side of the fence and you're sitting there blaming them for not returning them to you and you're threatening the lives of their children. So yeah, you know what? They're going to bury bodies and pull them out and say, see, I found it. Don't kill my kid. How hard is that to understand? Anybody, any parent, any good parent would do that. Would find any dead body and bury it and pull it out and say, I found one. Don't kill my kid. But the Israelis say, nope, that's not acceptable. We're killing your kid. This is why everybody hates them. I mean, I think we all have grown to hate them more and more, because of this, especially with the ceasefire and seeing how it's resulted. And then seeing, the Ben Shapirs of the world saying, how do you not celebrate? How are you not celebrating? Well, this is why we're not celebrating, because you just killed 46 kids under a ceasefire. And then you said, ceasefire's back on. We just killed you all, but ceasefire's back on. So I guess they could just do that day after day. Nobody's buying it anymore. Everybody's against them. So why did they do it? Well, they did it because they're genocidal. But there's another reason why Netanyahu might be all about this, because he's in trial. His trial has been going on for 5 years, over 5 years. It started, I believe, in May of 2020. He's facing some corruption charges. And he instead keeps getting, every time he shows up to court, there's some kind of a delay. It's either he has, I scheduled a surgery. Oh, you scheduled an optional surgery on the day of your court. Of course you did. Or, I'm sick with the cold. Or now, since October 7th, he's been in 2023, and this trial's been going on since 2020. So luckily for him, since 2023, he's been able to call basically his court dates off or short each time because he says security concerns. We're at war. I got to go back to war. So the day he's in court, look at this. We got to bomb some terrorists, and even though we're under a ceasefire, we got to go kill a bunch of kids, and that's going to delay his court. Judges in Netanyahu's trial agreed to shorten session due to security developments. He had to rush out. He had to rush out of court, and they had to end it early. His trial again had to end it so that he could go and kill 46 kids. He shouldn't be in this court for bribery and corruption. He should be in front of the ICC for committing a genocide. And he should face whatever the consequences are for that. And I think they're pretty severe. Here's the thing. You can't blame it all on Netanyahu. As much as I know we'd love to blame all of this on Netanyahu and say once he's out of power, this would all stop and that this is all, he's just doing this because of, whatever. No, if Netanyahu's not in power, to be some other genocidal crazy maniac, because that's what's happened with this ideology of Zionism. It has bred genocidal, homicidal thinking. And if Netanyahu steps aside, it'll be somebody else. So how do we end this? The big question is, how do we end all of this? And that is, we have to gain our sovereignty back. As a country, as Americans, we have to gain our sovereignty back. And that means we have to continue very loudly, aggressively calling for an America First agenda and dropping Israel from that agenda. and continuing to criticize and say, I don't want my tax dollars to go to this. And they say, well, why aren't you talking about Nigeria? Why aren't you talking about the genocide in Nigeria, which is really awful what's going on in Nigeria? But are we funding it? Are Nigerian politicians flooding our Congress? Are Nigerian lobbies paying off the rest of our politicians? Are we seeing our politicians flood over to Nigeria to pay homage and kiss their sacred monuments? I mean, what are we that it's horrible what's going on in Nigeria, but it's not. We're not complicit in. I mean, you probably could make some arguments. I'm sure we are, actually. There's definitely an argument I can make to where, the United States creating ISIS, which ended up turning into Boko Haram in Nigeria. And of course, the United States always wanting to undermine China and their Belt and Road Initiative. And so we just kind of allowed for extremism to flourish and proliferate throughout Africa because we wanted to stop the Belt and Road Initiative. Okay, so there's certainly a lot that we could criticize when it comes to our policies on Africa and our attempts to stop China and what we've turned a blind eye to for a long time in order to allow the bad actors to flourish so that they could maybe stop China. We've certainly done a lot on that front too, but certainly we do way more for Israel. I mean, that's why we talk about it endlessly. It's not because, they're Jews and we just automatically, all of us are born with anti-Semitism in our blood and it just comes raging out and they just have to tamp down on it sometimes. That's not what's gone on here. It's that we are overly funding Israel. It's depressing. But this is why we were not celebrating the ceasefire, because there is no ceasefire. It's on again, off again ceasefire, and because those of us who don't support it, if you happen to not be born in America, or even if you're like me and I'm born to a refugee. And my father is born in America. My grandfather was born in America. But because my mother wasn't born in America, I am told by Israeli shills that I should be deported back to where I came from. I've never even set foot in Vietnam. I'm from Idaho. I've already deported myself back to Idaho, so don't worry about that. And they say I should be deported out of this country because I'm not America first enough, because I'm not Israel first. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.